President Obama's bipartisan commission tasked with reducing our country's annual budget deficit was expected to release its findings on December 1st, but a draft proposal was released today by Erskine Bowles, the chairman of the commission, who also had served as chief of staff in the Clinton White House, and Alan Simpson, the former Senate leader, Republican from Wyoming. This proposal outlines $4 trillion that they say can be cut out of our budget through 2020. But at what cost? Besides the outlined cuts to domestic and military spending, as well as a reformed tax code to increase revenue, the plan also calls for deep cuts in Social Security that will affect most future retirees. The plan also outlines significant changes to Medicare. So why is it that the safety net for American seniors is on the chopping block in an effort to balance the budget? Joining me to discuss the commission findings and what they mean going forward is Don Watkins, an analyst with the Ayn Rand Institute in California. Don, welcome back.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Great to be here.
Great to have you here. Your quick thoughts on the commission's findings?
I think it's pathetic. I think that we shouldn't be talking about trimming Social Security. I think we should be talking about, over the long run, not tomorrow, but let's say over the next 20 years, abolishing it. I think it's an immoral, unjust program that robs people of what they earn in order to give others the unearned.
So the people like my friend Michael Hutchison in Santa Fe, who broke his neck running about 10 years ago and is literally living on Social Security, the fully 1/3 of all the payments that Social Security makes to widows, orphans, and disabled people, to hell with them, just throw them out on the streets?
No, absolutely not. What would happen is the same thing that happened before the New Deal, which was not people dying in the streets. It was two things. It was charity, and it was voluntary social insurance. People would engage in mutual aid societies where they would voluntarily contribute in case for retirement, in case something tragic happened to them, and they were taken care of. What I object to is involuntary.
Before Social Security, people were dying in the streets. In the 1930s, before Social Security was implemented, one of the leading causes of death in the summer for elderly people was hyperthermia, and one of the leading causes of death in the winter was hypothermia. I mean, literally, people were dying because they couldn't afford to cool themselves or heat themselves.
Right, and that's happened all throughout history, and what made people...
And it doesn't happen now. That's why we have Social Security.
No, it doesn't happen now because we've had material progress under capitalism. The real thing that we need is the freedom to plan for our own retirements and save for our own retirements. If the government's taking 12%
How can people have freedom, Don, if they don't have a baseline to know that they're not going to be thrown out of their house, that they actually have food? How can you say that somebody who is hungry is free? It seems to me like gibberish.
No. First of all, freedom does not lead to people being hungry. It leads to them being wealthy. But how can a person be free if the government's robbing them substantial portions of their wealth?
You're saying that somebody who can't get a job, or somebody who is retired and who can't afford to pay for their own food and who's being thrown out of their house is free. I mean, I'll say it again, it's gibberish. This makes absolutely no sense. There has to be some basic substrate. I mean, George Washington was the first president to ask Congress to appropriate money for the poor here in Washington, D.C. He said this is a federal responsibility. The first president, George Washington.
The world does not owe you a living, and your job
I'm not talking about a living. I'm talking about a social safety net.
Look, if you want a safety net, you're free to provide charity for these people. Nobody's stopping you. What I'm saying is they're not entitled, their need does not entitle them to somebody else's wealth. The fact that I work really hard, why is it moral for somebody to take that away from me? Because they did not plan. Because they did not plan for disasters. They didn't plan for retirement. What makes that morally right?
I'll tell you what makes it morally right, Don. What makes it morally right? What makes it morally right is that we are a society of human beings. We actually care for each other. We have conscience about each other. We're not sociopaths like Ayn Rand was.
No, then why don't you help them voluntarily?
I do help people voluntarily, but that's not the point. The point is whether we as a society are going to say we're a we society rather than a me society. We're not a collection of selfish sociopaths. We're a collection of people who actually care about each other and go out of our way to, and in fact, decide to tax each other to make sure that the poor and most vulnerable among us don't fall through that floor.
That makes no sense. You've just said that we're a compassionate society, and yet we're not going to give voluntarily. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's the problem, is that there are some among us who would say, yeah, to hell with this. I don't want to pay any taxes. I don't want to take care of anybody. And there has to be some kind of mechanism to say to those people, particularly when they're people of great wealth, sorry, you are going to contribute.
Well, that is called robbery. That is called reaching into somebody's pocket and saying, I don't like what you're doing with your wealth. I'm going to put it to a better use. And that is totally immoral. They earn their wealth, and these people who you're handing it to, by and large, are people who have a whole lifetime to save, to plan. And what really happens is not that the really
sitting
needy
in their wheelchairs.
Okay, well, yeah.
You want somebody 69 years old out looking for a job as a bricklayer?
Well, that is not what happens. I mean,
that's what they're talking about, raising the retirement age to 69.
Yeah, and they should. I mean, over time, that is absolutely what needs to happen, so that we have real security, which is the security of me being able to invest my money as I see fit and not have it into some government boondoggle where I'm not guaranteed anything when I retire. Only whatever Barney Frank or whoever happens to be in Congress happens to vote me.
Wow.
Real security is the freedom to provide for our own lives, not to be at the beck and call of what politicians choose to steal from some people in order to hand to us.
Sounds great, Don, if you're born like George W. Bush with millions of dollars. But in any case, Don, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. While Obama's deficit panel apparently is going to be recommending a small rise in the income level where people stop paying Social Security taxes, yes, you heard that right, stop paying Social Security taxes, there will still be a cap. Now, most Americans have no clue what I'm talking about because they've never made so much money that they no longer pay this tax. Here's how it works. This is pretty straightforward. And if you look, for example, at the wages of people who are just, average working people, a police officer, $49,000. According to Forbes.com, this is the average salary nationwide of police officers, $49,000. 100% firefighter, $41,000. Teachers, high school teacher, $53,000. 100% of these people's income is taxed for Social Security, from the first dollar all the way to the last dollar. Anybody making up to $106,000 in the United States pays tax on all of it for Social Security. Somebody making actually only $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 a year, somebody a Walmart greeter, every single penny is taxed. However, for people who make more than $106,000, like talk show hosts, some of them, Rush Limbaugh, for example, claims to make $54 million a year. Stephen J. Hemsley, CEO of United Healthcare, the salary part of his income, $9 million a year, and that's in addition to the other 90 more or less million a year that he makes in stock dividends and or stock options. Glenn Beck, $32 million. Now, here's this $106,000 a year right here. Okay, that's the $106,000 a year. That's the wall. Everything actually it would have to be over here because the high school teacher's on that side of it. Okay, so here everything over here is taxed. All these dollars are taxed 100%, 13% more or less. Half of it paid by the worker, half of it paid by the employer. If they're self-employed, they pay the whole load. After that amount of money, after that $106,000, not one penny of all of this income that Rush Limbaugh is making, all of this income that Stephen J. Hemsley is making, all this money that Glenn Beck, not one penny is taxed. And that's the dirty little secret about Social Security. You want to know what the real crisis in Social Security is? That there's not enough money in the system right now, although it is going to be solvent for the next 25 years. There's not enough money in the system because none of these guys are paying a penny in Social Security taxes. They get a 13% underwriting from you and me, who are paying paying Social Security taxes on all of our income. And it's just wrong.